Broadville. What you gonna do, brother? Oh, yeah! Are you ready? Hey, yo. And that's the bottom line. Shut that control into a nosedive. Woo!
Well, all I can say is someone's been eating their vitamins and saying their prayers.
Life sucks, and then you die.
Strategy my Oklahoma ass.
You're next. What? Oh, that's the Goldberg taking down right now. Goldberg just fears no wrong.
That's cheap, plain and simple.
Rest in peace.
Welcome to another episode of the JM Report. I'm your host, GoodOlJM, coming to you from CSB Studios in Tampa, Florida, the birthplace of pro wrestling, on this January 24th, 2020. Once again, big thank you and shout out to Joe for helping me out on my new intro. So it's a slightly shorter, basically the same thing, just compressed it a little bit. It's about 45 seconds shorter than the original. And again, thanks, Joe, for an amazing job. And appreciate it, buddy. And also looking forward to working with you again. Gotta say, I barely made into the studio today. Well, one, a little bit late. See, I'm used to reserving my studio time at about 12 noon every Friday, at least on the Fridays that I'm able to make it in at all. And I figured, like, you know what? Let me go in a little bit earlier. That obviously I'll finish earlier, and I'll have some extra time to do whatever miscellaneous errands or whatnot for the rest of the day before I can finally go home and call it quits. But a little late, but at least for two good reasons. One, the least important of the two, I set my alarm clock wrong. It takes me about half an hour to get here, and you know that's with little to no traffic and sometimes good traffic. And so still made it roughly, but again a little bit late. But I set my alarm clock. That's not it. See, I even told myself, watch me forget to silence my phone, and look what happened. No, I'm not a Power Ranger. That's my text notification. Anyway, so since I'm used to coming in at 12, I will set my alarm clock to about 11-ish. Not that I get up that late in the day, but more like a reminder. Okay, I got to start finishing up what I'm doing and head out. But for some reason, I set it at 10, and I didn't leave. Because not too long ago when I started the promotionals position, I would give myself not one, but 2 extra hours, or 2 hours in preparation. So finish up and then head out, because usually there'll be traffic, and that's the main reason why I'll give myself that much time. So it's like, okay, 10 o'clock, the alarm went off. I think I need to be there at 12. So yeah, I'll leave a little bit after 11. And I just realized as 11 o'clock came close, I was like, oh crap. I'm trying to keep it PG today. But holy shit, I forgot that I reserved at 11, not 12. And But thankfully, the studio understands, and there wasn't anyone else that was reserved before or after me for the day. So it's all good in the hood, as they used to say back in my day. And the other reason, well, I pulled my back. The simplest, slightest movement anyone can do from a standing position, putting your pants on, and felt like a lightning strike near my lower back, about around the kidney area. Now, I have history of back problems, so nothing too serious, but unfortunately, as I have been living with it since I was a teenager, and There are solutions for it, especially nowadays where you can go in for a simple for the ones who are performing it, 1-inch incision. They look for the problem, they fix the problem, and they sew it back up, and about 3-4 hours later, you're good to go home. I mean, I've heard of spa treatments lasting longer, but, the 21st century, folks. I remember hearing from relatives, older relatives, that, like, back in my day, surgeries take hours. The kind of surgery you need would have taken me half a day and then another week to recover, and then a week later I go home, and it's funny how the bill was rarely mentioned, but yeah. So a bit of a setback. Matter of fact, I'm sitting here now with a stinging sensation down my lower back. I could pinpoint exactly what caused it. I know I mentioned that. I've been living with it, but it's, for lack of a better term, I was able to suppress it, meaning I wouldn't do certain movements to trigger it, and would go on to live a painless, free life. Sometimes, if I'm sleeping in the wrong position and then wake up the next morning, there it is. And modern medicine can only do so much. Over-the-counter stuff doesn't do much. So, yeah, I'm going to pretty much spend my entire weekend like this. I got a gig tomorrow, matter of fact. But hopefully by then, it would be healed enough, or at least feeling better enough where it doesn't have to bother me. Otherwise, I can find a non-drowsy aspirin bottle, and I'll be popping those like M&Ms later. But enough about me. This is not the health update report on JM. I hope everyone was able to listen in to my interview with Lynn Anawani. The interview was posted last Saturday, talking all about how I lost to Gain. She's a friend of mine, and the VP of WXW, the Wild Samoan Pro Wrestling Training Center, up north from where I am in Mineola, Florida, just outside of Orlando, and spoke about how she became a life motivating coach, how she struggled, and her path basically to a healthier lifestyle. Recently lost about 30 pounds, and altogether lost about, I would say, what she said, about 75, 80 pounds in an interview we did together. If you ever seen the before and after picture of Mrs. Anawani, or as she preferred me to call her, Lynn, it's an amazing sight. And I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying this, but she looks amazing at this point in her life. A wife, a mother, a very busy woman, and still finds time to do something productive as far as being and staying physical, even if it is for about an hour or so walk late at night when you should probably be getting ready to go to bed for another long day of work tomorrow. But no, if there's time, there's a way, and you should do it. I'm pretty sure she sounded a lot more motivated than how I just said it. But it's under an hour long, and I encourage anyone that is struggling with ways to lose weight, and there are other alternatives to, straight go to the easy way out, and that's having surgical procedures, which in hindsight has assisted a lot of people, especially the, what do you call that? Bypass. Oh my goodness. Basically, they shrink your stomach. That one. I had an old coworker of mine from my New York days, had it done, and looks amazing. She really does, and can't be any more happy for her. But sometimes, it's not always the case, but there are times where there are side effects unforeseen by anyone, And whatever you lost, you got back, and not in a good way. So rather than me just spoiling the interview for you, it's Talking with JM. Head over to my YouTube channel, take a listen to Lynn and figure out how you can lose to gain as well. So, after a self-promoting plug, mentioned last week about the Tessa Blanchard controversy and giving my 2 cents worth of opinion about it. Of not only that there are two sides to the story, and there always is, no matter how good or bad it sounds, no matter how close you are to one side and the other, or how much you like the other person, so on and so forth. There are always two sides. You'd be a fool and a hypocrite not to listen to both sides. So in other words, you have to stay neutral. One can be your BFF, the other one could be a relative. But if your relative is wrong, be a man or woman about it and say, no, you're wrong. That's kind of the case what's been happening with Tessa Blanchard, along with, and specifically, Alison Kay. The now controversial subject about Tessa Blanchard continued. Alison Kay, who accused Blanchard of bullying and racism earlier this month, put out a series of tweets along with screenshots of anonymous senders, not to throw those people under the bus, from Alison Kay and a third party, again, nameless party, in response to claims that Blanchard is trying to spread lies about Alison Kay. Now, this comes after the accusations, allegedly, on Tessa Blanchard of being a racist, about using the N-word to an African-American athlete in Japan, who we later find out was La Rosa Negra, who she herself would kind of confirm that it was her, but didn't want to specify on that interview last Monday. But she did address it. If anything, she was just praising everyone that came to her defense and put it out there to the world now to decide, so to speak. It's funny how sometimes with the situation or the scenario is, at least presented to those who qualify, the world, or in this case, social media, the internet, becomes the judge. I don't know either of these women, though I met some of them in person. Could have been any more nicer. And I know I always say that about everyone I do meet face to face, whether it's to get an autograph or a picture taken or just running into them in a public place. It's almost expected for them to be very nice, but not because they're public figures, but because that's who they are. Now, I'm not going to have my experience in this case with Tessa Blanchard blind me from these alleged accusations that took place. I am not saying anyone is guilty. I am not saying anyone is innocent, but this story is out there. And up until last week, Tessa Blanchard, who was accused of all this, was calling everybody else a liar. And that was a lot of women defending La Rosa Negra. So about these lies that are being spread about Alison Kay, along with the screenshots saying, Kay said that what I had to say, so I love to move on. I said what I had to say, so I love to move on. But I got several messages about Tessa Blanchard trying to spread lies. Unfortunately for you, talking to Blanchard, I built my 11-year reputation of being respectful. Instead of owning up to your mistakes, you lie, scheme, and prove you haven't changed. And I have said screenshots of messages. So these are to third, possibly a fourth party. But one in particular that was sent to Alison Kay and has a name blacked out for their protection. And so-and-so, what's blacked out, just call me for your number. She wants to talk to you. Apparently, Tessa is trying to dig up dirt on you. Now, this is Alison Kay allegedly responding, of course she is. That doesn't surprise me at all. Now, this could be a giveaway to who was the one sending this message to Alison Kay. Claro, in Spanish, meaning of course. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. Because she was exposed, so now she's like a fucking comic book villain who wants to get her revenge. Never knew, is that what... Never heard of any comic book like the Joker. Imagine the Joker tweeting the Penguin for dirt on Batman. What do you know? No. Yeah. Horrible impressions. Thank you. A second screenshot of messages exchanged. Hey, blacked out name. Are you close with Alison? Yeah, what's up? So this name that is blacked out sent this other party a screenshot of another text message sent to this person whose name is blacked out. And that message says, I'm trying to convince an Impact employee to talk to you about Alison Kay. Apparently she was a huge bully in TNA. He won't talk to me because the link would be apparent. But he is thinking of talking to someone else. Would you be interested? So name who's was blacked out will continue to say, I got this DM. I think Tessa is trying to shop stuff to take her down. And this other party response to that is, oh, where'd it go? Just oh my goodness, this scrolling is really fast. Stop it. Yeah, I know. So this other person said, I'll give her a heads up, referring to Alison Kay, and said thanks. Second name that was blacked out continued to say, for sure, the timing just seems off. I've never heard of her being a bully from anyone. So what are we led to believe here? It's astounding how far a person would go to allegedly, supposedly dig up dirt. Now I know that that term has been thrown around a lot lately in the political arena, but that's not what we're talking about here. What is the protocol to an employer and that employer finds out that one of your employees is trying to quote, dig up dirt on someone else who was a co-worker of yours, but were in a different environment, working for a different employer, essentially doing the same kind of business, in this case, pro wrestling. And allegedly, person that's trying to dig up dirt on an old coworker is asking someone else to talk to a higher up in a previous employer that you worked for, digging up dirt or talking about having a conversation to confirm other accusations allegedly. I don't know if anybody else watches the Starz TV show Power. It's about 2 episodes left. Who shot Ghost? Cheap plug. I tweeted saying it was Maggie, but yeah, those rumors were shut down. Anyway, there's a scene where the character Tommy is just doing stupid shit, and what else is new, right? But I'm trying not to spoil it here. But there's another character who tells Tommy, I was like, oh, how'd you find out about that? Who told you that? That was Tommy's rebuttal after the other character says, what, you don't think the hood doesn't talk? Well, using that analogy, especially today's day and age, you don't think people in any business or in any form don't talk? Not always rumors, not always gossip, not always bullshit, but it was like, oh, did you hear? Oh, I heard. Oh, I read this. Sometimes it requires confronting said person in the middle of that story, but people are becoming smart as well, where in this case, blacking out names or not mentioning who said whatever to you. But my reaction was, jeez, is he serious? I've always believed in innocent to proven guilty. Tessa's been nothing but accused for over a week now. Finger pointing, denial. And now allegedly, and of course she more than likely would deny this if confronted, if she hasn't been already, about trying to dig up dirt specifically on Alison Kay. Maybe she thought, Blanchard that is, thought that Alison Kay was an easier target. Who knows? Tessa Blanchard does not appear to be slowing down at all, as there is more information out there regarding some of her history. And this is all thanks to Fightful.com. Latest reports say that Tessa indicates that she had a consistent attitude issue during the first 2 seasons of WoW, Women of Wrestling, that airs on Access TV. They are now in their, or I think ending their 2nd season if it's not over. I missed the last few episodes. But numerous people within WoW that wish to remain anonymous, blacked out names, stated that Blanchard was argumentative and regularly would talk down to people in the company. So I'll continue with this in a second. But now this is transferred basically from a similar issue in Japan. Now it's here in the States. Blanchard was at one time the WoW Women's Champion. On one occasion, she made one of the trainers begin to cry in front of everyone else by telling the trainer she did not belong there. One of the roster members, who wanted to also remain anonymous, and I'm mispronouncing that word, said that David McLean asked people to not discuss the topic. Blanchard reportedly had a verbal confrontation with a top WoW name in front of other superstars, which resulted in numerous weeks of escalated tension. Blanchard continued to gain influence in the company and required certain things to be approved by her. When she became the head trainer in season 2, she was even more strict about decisions. It is also reported that multiple members of the roster, who are longtime members of the promotion, think that they lost their pushes once Blanchard showed up and instituted changes. Also, according to Fightful, it was also once noted that ever since Blanchard joined Impact Wrestling, she changed her ways for the better, and most of her attitude issues disappeared. It's it's unbelievable. Assuming any of this can be proven, I'm in no position to say someone is lying or any of this holds any merit. When it comes to investigative reporting, you go to places where obviously a lot of people wouldn't want you in, but again, people, or in some cases, it just takes one person to talk. And you take that information from that one person, you bring it to the others that are mentioned in that conversation, and they can either confirm it, deny it, or add on to it, and point you to another person that wasn't mentioned or for their protection was intentionally not mentioned, but still confirms it, if any of that makes sense. So, of course, Blanchet, as of yet, at least as of this recording, Blanchet has not mentioned or commented any of the accusations this time from what happened or what took place in WoW. As Blanchard was reached out or was attempted to be reached out by Fightful for a statement and comment, but they were unsuccessful. So this is going to drag a little more longer. I sound like that because, I mean, first of all, it's not an issue that should be just swept under the rug. It's something very serious. One person can have the power to influence others, to see the world as they do or think as they do, thus spreading the poison to anyone. If any or all of these accusations are proven to be true, what should happen to Tessa Blanchard? She was already removed from one event last week. She continued on with another on a pay-per-view, becoming their world's champion from the men's division. So, should Tessa Blanchard be blackballed from pro wrestling altogether if any of these accusations are proven? Should she go away for a few years out of the public eye? I mentioned last week how similar, not 100%, but similarities about 4 or 5 years ago now with Hulk Hogan and the leaked sex tape, but more importantly, in the eyes of others, what was said on said leaked sex tape of Hulk Hogan's comments and the constant use of the N-word. I've heard it only once, and for me, once was enough. More because I needed to hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And I was upset. Now, there is no, as far as I know, there aren't any recordings or video of Tessa Blanchard committing these accusations, whether it's spitting in the face or calling another pro wrestler the N-word to her face backstage. If you think about it, it's rare. Even if things are going well, it's a happy environment, everyone's joking around, or for example, if you're working for WWE and there's a taping of Xavier Woods' Up, Down, Down YouTube show, and there's like a behind the scenes shot unknown to Xavier or anyone else that's participating for this particular episode that someone recorded on their cell phone. Here's Woods and the rest of the New Day playing Street Fighter with the Usos, for example, or Paige or Renee or anyone like that. So they air on YouTube what was intentionally meant to be aired, but this other angle from behind the scenes airs somewhere else, more than likely to be one of those, hey, you didn't have our permission not only to record us, but to upload this. But everybody's happy, everybody's joking, everybody's having a good time trying to beat each other up with uppercuts and Hadoukens and sonic booms and whatnot. Harmless. But even with that example, it's rare. Videos and audio for sure, it's rare. Pictures, definitely. All over their Instagrams and Twitters. I think they're being more careful with heels and faces hanging out together backstage. But even those sometimes get out. Far in between, but they get out. But for something like this, in a Blanchett situation, and I'm trying not to go too long with it, for the people that are accusing her for this alleged, crime, let's call it, there is no evidence other than their word. No, I'm not calling them a liar because there's no evidence. No. The group is big enough for their voices to be heard towards one person that has done nothing but deny everything, allegedly digging up dirt on one of her accusers, and without saying so in so many words, calling everybody that's been accusing her liars. Is that proof enough? I know some people would say, well, that's proof enough. Look what she's supposedly doing. But people won't categorize it like that. They will say, oh, Blanchett is calling other people for dirt on Alison Kay. How do you know? Yes, there are text messages. Yes, those names are blacked out. But for an outsider, an outside party like myself to say anything of the sort, oh, that's what she is doing. If that's the case, then Blanchett just outed herself. There's a reason why you can take screenshots on smartphones in this case. And if evidence needs to be provided without names being blacked out, then so be it. But that won't be up to me. That won't be up to anyone who's a fan, let's say, of Tessa Blanchard or Alison Kay or anyone else that's involved with this, to make any kind of determinations and say, yes, you're wrong, you're right, you should apologize, you should be blackballed, or whatever should be done. All in all, it just sucks. It sucks to be in that position if you're a Tessa Blanchard or one of her fans. I'm sure she appreciates everyone defending her, but there's only so much you can do with that. People nowadays, it's easier now to get caught, especially with everything with technology. Technology-wise is what's going to get you. To get caught, even if you're unaware, or even if Hogan was not aware of a video camera set to the side against his knowledge and against his will to be recorded, for the reasons he did it, well, I mean, that's another story altogether. But let's say the audio still got out from that, and it wasn't from a camera. Maybe it's one of those hacked-in Alexa devices. You never know. Or maybe during the sexual encounter Hogan was having, somehow butt-dialed one of his friends, and that friend is hearing what's going on in the background. It happens. Hell, it's happened to me plenty of times. Not always a butt dial, but you just had a conversation with someone and they call you back, and like a minute later after you hung up saying goodbye, you're hearing all what's going on in the background. It's like, okay, you can't hear me because I'm a tiny little voice right now coming out of your pocket. I hang up, send a text message. I know you're going to hear that notification. Hey, check your phone because you called me back. And oh yeah, I heard what's going on. All I'm going to say is Tessa Blanchard would have a lot of explaining to do. When it comes to these screenshotted conversations, would be kind of difficult to defend yourself. One thing that cannot be done unless you're a real expert or maybe working for the manufacturer. But when it comes to text messaging, once it's sent, it's sent. Even if you delete the conversation, it exists somewhere floating around inside of your device, and it can be recovered by whatever company that phone was made from or made by. Now, this is not a lesson for anyone who has the intention to take the same route and try to cover your tracks. No, it's a fact. It's been brought up many times if anyone pays attention to these court cases when it came to trying to prove like this numbnuts that was released from prison, I believe yesterday, the one that was responsible, not by talking, but texting her boyfriend into committing suicide. Even the original sentencing I felt was a slap on the wrist, but still responsible for this young guy's life being lost so early at a young age. If I remember right, some of her messages were deleted, but there was enough left to follow up and get a court order to reach out to the phone company and say, we need you to jailbreak this phone and recover these deleted messages. So, no, I'm not encouraging anyone to follow that path. I'm not teaching or showing anyone how to cover up your tracks. No. It's becoming, and it should be, common knowledge at this point. But as far as Tessa Blanchard and her situation goes, I really hope it goes away. Not anytime soon, but by the time it does go away, that if proven otherwise, that Tessa owns up to it, to these alleged accusations, to apologize to who she needs to apologize to, and nothing but kudos and respect for those finally making the stand, letting their voices be heard. I mean, shit, imagine if Tessa was in WWE. I would think after, considering that there's a pay-per-view, the Royal Rumble coming up, and if she's booked in a big-time angle, say for a women's title, chances are she'll be taken off TV after the Rumble with some lame injury angle or something like that, just to get her off TV for a while, or at least long enough till this thing clears up. But because she is so good, her talents in the ring, no one can deny that. Hell, if enough voices can be heard or tweeted in the case of changing the name of the Battle Royal at WrestleMania, it was previously called Fabulous Moolah Battle Royal, Memorial Battle Royale, whatever. Then all that story came out about Moolah whoring out her talents, being a pimp, bullying them to her talents, that is, to pay her a specific percentage of their income from whichever promoter they worked with. That got out, and Snickers, one of the biggest advertisements for WWE, threatened to pull out if they don't either cancel that particular match or change the name, and they just changed the name to the regular WrestleMania Women's Battle Royale, like as if we didn't know where it was taking place, under which name event. So at WrestleMania, there'll be a WrestleMania Women's Battle Royale during WrestleMania. Jeez, redundant, much redundant? Yeah, going too long with this because I have some more stories to get to. But clear this shit up, people. Talking to Tessa Blanchard and whomever it is that she relies on to help her out with this. Not to sweep it under the rug, but own up to whatever it is, allegedly, that you're being accused of. And I seriously doubt a group of people, say about a dozen, gets together and because at some point someone so bullied them or berated them or talked them down, waited so long, years in this case, to say, you know what, now the time is right because she's about to go on pay-per-view and win a women's or win a world's title. Maybe if we speak now, they'll cancel that and she has to wait longer or maybe it won't happen at all. But seems to me that there is some merit here, but it's not me to decide or even judge that. But sometimes if it's obvious, you can't dismiss that either. Jeff Hardy, according to PW Insider, his next court appearance in Moore County Court in North Carolina regarding his October 2019 arrest for a DWI is scheduled for April 6th, the day after WrestleMania. So, no appearance for Jeff Hardy this year. It wouldn't matter anyway because he's still out on injury. Hardy was arrested on Thursday, October 3rd, 2019 in Moore County. The police report noted that authorities received a tip about a careless driver around 8:40 p.m. Police were able to locate Hardy in his car in front of a liquor store, and he emerged carrying a case of beer. Not a good look. So authorities followed the car and pulled him over, and they, quote, observed him weaving badly in the lane. According to the report, Hardy had what seemed to be dried blood on his nose. Officers were told that he and his wife got into a fight. Hardy was admitted to having 2 shots of vodka and admitted of being impaired. He failed a field sobriety test, and according to the report, he was uncooperative when asked for a breathalyzer or blood sample. A judge signed off on a search warrant allowing officers to extract a blood sample from Hardy, which is still amazing to me, by the way. Hardy's driver's license has been revoked pending the resolution of the case. And Hardy's, in relations to WWE, has not been on the road with them because he's still recovering from a leg injury. WWE has worked with Hardy to assist him personally since his arrest, and that Hardy has been working hard to address his personal problems. Well, we've been there before with Jeff Hardy, and notwithstanding his house burning down and losing his dog, and some dumbass decided to put that or make it into a storyline, addressing his sobriety issues on TV more than once. You ever noticed that those involved, at least the ones that have been proven to have a sobriety issue outside of the wrestling business, you make it into a storyline and then something happens to them. And I'll leave that open for anyone's imagination. But in Jeff Hardy's case, does it really help when your problems are turned into a storyline in wrestling? Does it really help that individual's case becoming better? Look what happened with Jake the Snake Roberts. Look what happened with Road Warrior Hawk. There are others, but now we're talking about Jeff Hardy. Granted, it hasn't been, at least not this time around, been turned into a storyline, but had before. The last time Hardy left, when he went to TNA with CM Punk, that was a great robbery itself, and it didn't need that particular angle. They didn't need that part of the storyline to keep it interesting. Hardy and Punk are polar opposites. And to me, that was more than enough. But again, here I am, personally, saying that I hope Jeff Hardy does get the help that he sorely needs. Get his act together. Get his shit straight. He's a father now. Shawn Michaels was another one having issues, though mentioned here and there, but not really turned into a storyline with his issues with drugs and alcohol. But according to him, it took him shortly after he became a father to realize that, damn, I got an issue. Well, more than one issue. When his wife was sharing the story about Shawn looking for cookies at home, not realizing that he finished them, and that he was just floored to realize, I finished them, but I'm still asking what happened to them. And from that point on, was on a road to recovery. As far as we know, he's been clean ever since. It's more than a decade ago. On the other side of the Hardy compound, you got Matt Hardy, who reappeared on Raw this past week in a losing effort, unfortunately, to Eric Rowan, and his mysterious caged animal. Now, jokingly, I've been telling someone, what if that's a mutated body organ that somehow grew a mouth and teeth, and now it's biting everybody every week? So for a couple of weeks, it was nobody peek in the cage or beat the crap out of you, to now Rowan offering people to take a peek, or sometimes he does, and there's a bite mark and you are bleeding. So if this thing does, whatever's in the cage doesn't grow up to be Roman's tag team partner, I'm not interested. But Matt Hardy returned, a losing effort, and no official word, at least up from this point, whether or not Hardy has resigned or is going to pull a Dean Ambrose and let the rest of his contract expire, and Hardy's just going to ride it out and actually earn his paycheck by appearing on TV and just job out to everybody on the way out. Now, that's the rumblings, one or the other, or both. Either way, were there ever actual plans for Woken Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt besides becoming tag team champions for a cup of coffee? Thankfully, Wyatt recovered in a huge way. Now he's one of the most protected characters in the company. Of course, tonight it is advertised on SmackDown for a contract signing segment. Yeah, those go well every time, between Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan for the Universal title match at the Royal Rumble. What could possibly go wrong? Besides everything. Kasey Kahne, who made her return last week to NXT during the Women's Battle Royale to determine the number one contender, which it was later won by Bianca Belair. Well, she sat down over at the Performance Center in Orlando and talked to WWE cameras about her return, seemingly out of nowhere. And what she said was very interesting, and you know what? I'll give her respect, even more so to those who gave the okay, like, oh, you know. Well, let me read what she said here. Well, she wasn't sure whether this was the place that she wanted to be. She talked about how hard this transition is while also having other options. While Kasey was away, she did some physical rehab and soul searching. And during this journey, she realized her goals and wanting to be in the WWE. She's excited to be back with a new mindset and where things may take her. So perhaps, and this is just a summary of what the interview was. It's on YouTube if you want to catch it. She wasn't sure where in this case, NXT is where she needed to be. But yet it's happening anyway. Here's your opportunity that others would kill for. And you know what? I'm still not sure. Let me take time off. Let me be sure this is what I want to do. Which is a tough call to make, much less have others agree with you to take that time off. And assuming that was part of the conversation when she left the first time, whether it was Triple H or Vince or whomever else she might have spoken to. For all we know, she's probably still under the exact same contract. It was just that, okay, you're taking a leave of absence. Figure shit out, come back, let us know. Otherwise, we'll officially let you go. I believe the official statement was that she was released. But, I mean, yeah, it's pro wrestling. Things just happen out of the blue. Sometimes these things are unheard of. I mean, is it too far off to think that it's still the exact same contract, just that they added that leave of absence? So we're calling it a release, but you're taking time off anyway, so figure shit out. Hey, I'm glad to see her back. I was when she made her appearance last week on NXT. I was holy shit! Wait, weren't you gone? No, just a few months ago. So within less than a year, you go from being released. No way, she's back. Who was fired and hired like the same day? Oh my God, who was that? Oh, it just is. Oh. Even that was over some bullshit too. Fired and then rehired the same day. Oh my God, that's gonna kill me. Yeah, it was Emma. Emma was arrested for shoplifting. What was it for? Phone case. And claimed that she forgot it was in her bag or in a cart or wherever that they found it. I can't remember. This was a while ago. So in response to this, shoplifting for a phone case, WWE flexed their muscles and said, "You're fired." This had a lot of backlash. Also proving and showing how hypocritical WWE can be. I mean, you've been accused of worse things, WWE. Not to mention others that, whether or not before, during, or after part of WWE family, that other talents have committed crimes and they stay with the company, or at the very least were suspended for a few months, a few weeks, but never fired. But the backlash that they received from the fans, especially in social media, you're going to fire her for this, and mention what I just said. And obviously those fans went in great detail of mentioning said talents and the specific crimes that they've committed, but yet they're still working for you. So it's less than 24 hours later, Emma gets the phone call and to Neil. And said, "Okay, you're rehired. Come on back." It's almost like she was grounded for a day rather than being treated the way she actually was. But in fairness, they did the right thing. There's only so much backlash that WWE can receive and say, "Okay, we can't have this. We got to change it now. We got to fix it now." That's one example. The Fabulous Moolah renaming Battle Royale was another example. Big deals. Of course, the Titus ONeil is another example of the most dumbest shit I ever heard. Especially if you do nothing but clown around backstage. God forbid we see some of that in front of cameras and in front of the public. And no, Titus wasn't fired. He was just suspended, for 90 days, some ridiculous number like that. Was going to miss WrestleMania anyway. And then, 30 days. For a simple gesture that Titus ONeil wanted ladies to go first, not Vince, as far as leaving or heading to the back, leaving the staging area. after Daniel Bryan gave us his retirement speech. Wasn't a time and place, wasn't it? So, when is a good time and place to clown around? Titus is a great spokesperson. He's done a lot of amazing things. He still is, matter of fact, especially out here in the Tampa Bay area. It was such a slap in the face. Even Batista, at the time, got on social media encouraging Titus to just resign, man. You're better than that. You deserve better. I tend to agree. Of course, cooler heads prevail, but the man still lost on a WrestleMania appearance and a WrestleMania bonus check, or whatever they call it, payout. Honestly, I hate using the term payout. It's just so much, I don't know. I just do hate the name of it. Sylvain Grenier, remember him? Part of La Resistance tag team. Is now a backstage agent for WWE. He did an interview with TVA Sports out of Quebec, and they had the opportunity to ask Grenier about his new role, which began last week in Lexington, Kentucky. However, Grenier was introduced to the idea of meeting with Kevin Dunn in April of last year, so he had a chance, or at least an opportunity, to become an agent much sooner. And you know what? Good for him. Him, along with other former in-ring talents that have become backstage producers or agents and whatnot, can bring a lot to the table for the newer generations and for those who are seeking knowledge from those that have been there. Regardless of their success, reaching to the top or never making it past mid-card status. But I would welcome any kind of advice. Hell, I'll talk to the Brooklyn Brawler. He's been around. Harry Wimpleman. Pretty much any, quote, jobber from the 80s and 90s. And they're still making a name for themselves, even if it's on the independent scene. They're still doing what they love doing. And if they get a phone call, say, hey, we want you to be an agent backstage for Raw, hell yeah, more than likely 9 out of 10 people will take that. And those will be the people that I will go to for advice. So kudos. Sylvain Grenier, and now a backstage agent. Good for him. Speaking of WWE, they filed for new trademarks and put out the applications back on the 14th of January. Trademarking Trish Stratus, which leads many to believe that she's still quite not finished with the company yet, and we expect her to make more than one appearance in the future. The terms Ever Rise. Maybe a new name for an event coming up. Better be a hell of a reason why calling it Ever Rise. But they got it, or at least applied for it. The names Chase Parker, Matt Martell, and Epico. So, yeah, it was reported a few weeks ago that Epico is still part of the WWE. We haven't seen him since who knows when. But he's still under contract. He's still a talent. And maybe he renewed. That's why trademarking or applying for the trademark name again. Or they're going to let his contract expire and then he's going to move on to other things outside WWE. Like, okay, well, we wouldn't want you using the name Epico. It's business. A very scary story was shared by Asuka. This week, she took to Twitter after it was reported on CBS 8 News out of Las Vegas that the Las Vegas shooting that took place, claiming the lives of many people and including the shooter himself after exchanging a gunfire with law enforcement. but that Asuka was in close proximity of the incident. The gunfire, according to CBS 8, occurred outside the Fashion Show Mall that had 3 people shot. But thankfully, everyone is expected to live. And Asuka would tweet about her experience, stating that she was led into the Guess store nearby for protection. Tweeting, "I just escaped. There was a scream in front of me at the Fashion Show Mall. It was like shooting. Guess near the shooting range protected me. I heard screams from outside the door several times after fleeing to Guess." Now, Vegas is known for, as far as athletes go and celebrities, which live there, but more so as a hangout spot. It's a huge tourist spot, obviously. But just imagine how the world of pro wrestling would have reacted had things turned differently for the worse for Asuka. Now, I'm not trying to belittle those lives that have been lost or those lives that have been affected. Everyone is a human being that were affected by this. And it sucks. It really sucks. Of all the time and places for it to occur, but then that's another issue. It can happen anywhere. It can happen anytime. So, not just Asuka, but anyone who might have survived or was in close proximity, in this case, could have been a victim. And again, the world of pro wrestling would have been completely different. And what kind of awareness it would have raised inside of pro wrestling. And we're all human beings. Regardless of which side of the line you stand on, everything and anything cannot be always for financial gain or influential gain, or just because you're doing it, just thus describing you as a complete asshole. But if you're not one of those people that are in a position of power where you can help others, but just benefiting yourself and maybe a handful of your friends, then you know what? Kiss my ass. And I mean that in general. I don't care what side of the line you stand on. You have the ability to help thousands, maybe tens of thousands, I dare say millions of people. No, it's all about me. It's my money. I'll do with it however I want. I've earned it, even though in some cases it was passed on to you, or by luck or chance you won the lottery and just become more of an asshole. You know, the term share the wealth carries a lot of weight. And it's not just because, like, hey, remember that favor I did for you? You know, okay, the favor may not have cost 10 grand, but, you know, I looked out for you then. Is what the point I'm trying to make. Now I'm in a slump. Can you help me out? You're not going to miss 10 grand. But thankfully, Asuka was okay. But I still offer my thoughts and prayers to those who were affected and the lives that were lost during the Las Vegas shooting. After being banned from the platform for a week, and it was confirmed there was a terms and service violation from Impact Wrestling on Twitch, where there was the racy, raunchy scandal segment, or what do you want to call it, involving Katie Forbes and Rob Van Dam and Katie's girlfriend. During the Hard to Kill recap on Impact Wrestling TV this last week on Access, but also streamed on Twitch. The company was banned, likely due to the result of the raunchy video that involved Rob Van Dam and scandalously clad women after his victory over Daga. The video likely violated Twitch's rules of sexual content, which explicitly prohibited most nudity. pornography or other extreme sexual content. Now, I guess wearing a string bikini and having more than one nipple slip, even though it was censored, but still, it aired, and wearing a, leaving a little to the imagination, but wearing a string thong or G-string, I don't wear these things, I don't know what you call them, and having Katie Forbes, Derriere, and the girlfriend face the camera. Who wouldn't look at that and say, you know, I've seen a lot of pornos start off like this. We just gonna get to see the payoff or the money shot. But you know what? I don't blame Twitch. I don't. They have rules and regulations in place for a reason. They want to be, best way to put it, family-oriented platform. And that's fine, and there is nothing wrong with that. Facebook has their terms too. You cannot show any kind of nudity whatsoever. Okay, that's one social media platform that won't do it, but that's something that if that's part of your career, if you're a model or adult film star, what have you, posing for Playboy, Playgirl, whatever, and you're trying to get your product out there, in this case being your nude body, I'm like, okay, well, if Facebook won't allow you, well, there's Twitter. Twitter might have, might not have those terms in play, but at least have the option where, okay, this is, what do they call it? Mature content. If you wish to view it, click here, but you've been warned kind of thing. Like, okay, you click view content anyway, and there's Major Guns from WCW putting her stuff out there. More ways than one. But, okay, that's her thing. That's how she gets her income. Who is she hurting? I'm not too sure about Instagram, although people have pushed the envelope, so I'm not even gonna look that up. But as far as Twitch goes, again, I don't blame them. Maybe, I'd rather, you know what? I'm not even gonna try to find excuses as to why Impact didn't try to properly censor it or properly edit it or not show it at all. Got your attention, all right, but all for the wrong reasons. And it's not the same thing. So if you were taken off the air, at least it's, from the point of view of Twitch for 1 week, honestly, that's a slap in the wrist. If it was in violation of a term of regulations, then you should have been out completely. I guess another term here was used, ask for forgiveness than permission. That is better to ask for permission that is better to ask for forgiveness than it is permission. And you'll learn your lesson later. Hopefully lesson was learned and Impact won't do anything like this ever again, especially if they want to stay in business and try to remain relevant in every possible and available platform that there are. Speaking of Impact, Rich Swann underwent ankle surgery this week, as when it was announced through their social media pages, as he suffered an ankle injury in San Antonio, Texas, a few weeks ago, forcing him out of the Hard to Kill pay-per-view last weekend. Rich Swann has been dealing with ankle issues for the past few weeks, leading to the injury. And as of now, there is no word of any return date or how long he will be out of action. I unfortunately just watched the latest episode of AEW Dynamite last night. And Hangman Page and Kenny Omega became the new AEW Tag Team Champions, defeating SoCal. But I wasn't sure. I knew they were going to broadcast from the Jericho Cruise, but I wasn't sure if they were actually going to be a live signal back to the States as they left Miami heading to the Bahamas. But one person who unfortunately did not make it was Brandy Rhodes, who shared her story on social media that her passport was stolen and unable to attend Chris Jericho's cruise, the Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea. She said that she would have to leave early to deliver a keynote to the National Association of Television Program Executives, that she won't be available to make the cruise at all, which I'm sure was a punch to the gut to many. No information has been provided as to how it happened, but it seems that Rhodes will be missing out on a lot of fun this year. However, even before this current cruise that's still ongoing as we speak, Chris Jericho has announced 2021's Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea 3. And assuming he's still with AEW, that there will be yet another live broadcast from the deck of the ship, which I thought it was an amazing visual. They showed highlights earlier in the day of Fozzy performing. Even Gabriel Iglesias, the comedian, made an appearance. So, yeah, I mean, you're on a cruise. You're chilling, got your buddies or family. I mean, I never been on a cruise before, but going on people sharing their pictures and videos, yeah, it's a lot of fun. You got, depending which kind of package you got your sleeping quarters, obviously, and open bar, eat anytime you want. And at this particular case, you got wrestling. There's a wrestling ring set right smack in the middle of the boat. My young 17-year-old self is screaming, "Why wasn't this done sooner?" But so much potential fun there, and it's something I would like to do. I'm put that on my bucket list. So I'm going to run down what's expected for the Royal Rumble this Sunday. Of course, we have Worlds Collide tomorrow, which I'll have the results for. It's NXT versus NXT UK. And the story surrounding that event is Undisputed Era and Imperium. Should be interesting. Of course, tonight is the contract signing between Universal Champion Bray Wyatt as The Fiend, taking on Daniel Bryan for the title. Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch to defend against Asuka. Roman Reigns taking on King Corbin in a Falls Count Anywhere match. That alone should be interesting, considering that they're going to be at a baseball stadium. SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley will defend against Lacey Evans. Chad Gable, I'm not calling him by his other name, 1-on-1 against Sheamus. For the United States Championship, Andrade defends against the recently returning Humberto Carrillo. There has to be at least one other match to be announced, more than likely taking place during the kickoff show. But the following names are the only ones that have officially been announced for the Women's Royal Rumble match: Charlotte Flair, Natalya, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, and Sarah Logan. Short list for 30 spots to be filled, obviously, but the list will grow. I think, if I remember right, last year they started mentioning names during the kickoff show of who else has joined the 30 participants list. And even during the weekend of last year's Royal Rumble on social media, names were being dropped left and right. So still leaving enough space to have surprise entrances. And many are expecting not only Raw and SmackDown superstars, but also from NXT as well. Will we have a surprise entrance like we did for the first ever Women's Royal Rumble? Yeah, I would expect at least one. It's not something that they can do every year, because that kind of takes away a spot from current talent. But when you're painting yourself against the corner and there's so many names available, at the same time, certain names, for whatever reason, you don't want to appear, which I question, but that'll be the only time I would think of that you rely on, okay, let's call so-and-so to be a surprise entrant. Over at the Men's Royal Rumble, as expected, will be Brock Lesnar not defending the WWE Championship at the Rumble in either a one-on-one match or the Rumble match itself, but he is expected to enter number 1. And many are hoping that number 2 will be Matt Riddle. That'll be the one and done deal if you're WWE. Just to get that out. Well, you had it. You had Lesnar and Riddle one-on-one for about 2 minutes, but you had it. No need to push for that on the main roster anyway, but, God forbid you actually listen to the fans. Anyway, Roman Reigns and King Corbin, and I hate when they do this. They already had a match earlier in the night, but yet they're going to be pulling double duty and appear in the Royal Rumble match itself. Along with Dolph Ziggler, Braun Strowman, Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura, Kofi Kingston and Big E, who are the Tag Team SmackDown Champions, Eric Rowan, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Elias, Rey Mysterio, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, Otis, Tucker, Rusev, Bobby Lashley, Aleister Black, the new Raw Tag Team Champions of Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, and the undeclared and declared R-Truth. After having that face-to-face off with Brock Lesnar, more than likely he's going to be in the Rumble. But not as the 24/7 champion, as Mojo Rawley, who I also expect to be in the Rumble, will be a part of it as well. I mentioned last week, and I'll say it again this week. And this is how I'm going to end the show, unfortunately, on a sad note. 2020 is not being a good year for pro wrestling. We've learned that WWE legend Iron Mike Sharp and Hercules Ayala has passed away this week. I mean, anyone from the 80s who would watch Superstars of Wrestling and Wrestling Challenge, even Primetime Wrestling, would know who Iron Mike Sharp is. Big man, was nowadays called an enhancement talent, but back then just a jobber. And didn't have any feuds per se, but I mean, he fought them all. He fought all the legends. Everyone that would become a legend today and Hall of Famers. He fought them all, between the Rockers and Flair and Slaughter, Undertaker, just to name a few. Is a big man. He wore a ridiculously long black wristband. Well, taped up, but yeah, but one side was more taped up than the other. And every time he would sell a move, whether it was a chop or a punch, and Hombo just gave out this huge roar. And I always found all of his matches entertaining, regardless if he lost each and every single one. But it was sad to hear that Iron Mike Sharp losing his life, and unfortunate. When it comes to Hercules Ayala, the Cauliflower Alley Club once again was the first to confirm this week that the Caribbean superstar passed away. Real name Ruben Cruz, and according to their site, their Facebook page to be exact, popular talent wrestled in the promotions such as the WWF and Stampede Wrestling, most notably his primary promotion in the WWC out in the Caribbean, owned by Carlos Colon. Ayala faced the likes of another Hercules in Hercules Fernandez, as well as Ric Flair for the NWA World Championship. And to be honest, I don't know too much about the man. other than the fact that he was in pro wrestling, and someone else who locked up with legends, in this case, such as Ric Flair and Hercules Hernandez out of the WWE. He passed away due to heart issues at the age of 69. And like everyone else, along to Hercules Ayala, along with Iron Mike Sharp, I'd like to send out my thoughts, prayers, and condolences to all their family and friends who have to now say goodbye to these men. And may they rest in peace. I want to thank everyone for listening and tuning in this week on the JM Report. Hopefully, if it's not asking for too much, knock on wood, that I won't have any other reports like this, and at least not anytime soon. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Check out my description below to see where else you can follow me on social media. Facebook, YouTube, obviously, Instagram, and Twitter, along with Snapchat. So, till next time, everyone behave and be good and be healthy.
Open my eyes, leave it all behind. So open your mind and realize that your beautiful world could take my life.